Today, I want to talk about the phone, specifically how to get your phone to work for you versus against you. So much of what I see today is the phone is a distraction. People say to themselves, I'm addicted to my phone. It causes this distraction from whatever task you're doing because it's beeping or it's buzzing or a notification is coming up, and I just can't get off of it. And it's a part of my life. Well, we used to call them smartphones. I don't. We just call them cell phones or phones now. But the smart aspect of it has really gone away. Where it's now the phone is smart, but we're not. And I think the original terminology for smartphone was the phone's smart, but it helps you become smarter. That's what I take away from it. And I've learned certain ways of putting that into practice in my life, and it helps tremendously. Whereas I could easily go and use it to make myself dumb and give myself almost like you're giving yourself a little dose of ADD. What do I mean by that? Like I said, if I'm doing a task and then I'm reading something, or I'm writing something, or I'm in a conversation with someone, or I'm working on something, and then my phone rings, goes off, but it's not someone calling me, it's not someone texting me, it's an email. And a lot of emails are spam or subscriptions that you did, how many years ago, and they just come up on your phone and you delete them or you don't even read them. Social media stuff. I would say get rid of social media off your phone. If you have that problem of continuous scrolling, I have a hard time with social media. So I don't have Facebook, I don't have Instagram, I don't have any of these things on my phone because I know I am weak to these things and I will spend tons of time on them. The only thing that I do have is YouTube, and that's for when I'm in the car and I listen to books, podcasts, a lot of times, or music. And so I want to use my phone to help me in everyday life. And the notifications on your phone distract you from things. This is just what I've observed, and what I've observed in my own life is that when I had every email coming up on my phone, when I had every notification coming up on my phone, I was distracted and I was constantly in this kind of ADD, one thought, another thought, one thought, another thought all the time. And if we want to get productive, there's so many productivity hacks. We want to stay focused. Well, you can use your phone to either hurt you or help you. And when all of your notifications are on, it's hurting you because you're being distracted. So I would recommend, if I was going to try to increase my productivity, is getting rid of all push notifications on any app that isn't a call or a text. Now, if you are someone that has to respond to emails 24/7, then you probably want emails as well if that's part of your job. But if you're not, one of the productivity hacks that I remember hearing about was you set 2 times during the day, and that's when you answer emails, and the rest you don't even look at it. So many people are waking up and the first thing they're doing is reading an email, getting stressed about it, thinking about it as they go through their everyday activity, and then dealing with it when they get to work, or dealing with it maybe even before work. And it's adding the stress to their life when it's not time sensitive. Most people, I would say the majority of people, their emails are not time sensitive. They can get back to that person whenever they want to. But we have this compulsion now because it popped up on our phone that we have to respond. We have to, again, start thinking about it, which distracts us from whatever other tasks that we're working on. So I would say try to get rid of anything that you don't necessarily need. Phone calls, text messages are the only thing that I get notifications on, other than, and this is the next step of how to make your phone work for you, is I put reminders and other alarm systems on my phone to get it out of my conscious mind, or having to remember dumb little bits of information or tasks that I have to do. I have my calendar and I have my reminders and I have things set to alarm me so that I don't have to think about them. So my phone, the smartphone, it reminds me, I'm going through my day, I'm focused on something, and it reminds me I have to do something at this time. So I set timed reminders where, hey, at 4 o'clock, I have to do this certain task. Okay, I need to go to the store and I need to get these foods. I write in my phone the list of foods that I need, all right? And then I write it in, I set the reminder for a certain time. Let's just say I'm done with a client at 6 o'clock and I need to go to the store. I put the reminder in at 6 o'clock. When I'm walking out of that client's house, this reminder comes up, it has the food that I need, and I go to the store. So instead of me thinking, oh man, on my way home, oh man, I forgot to pull off to the store, my phone reminded me of that. Whereas so many times before, I'm constantly, looking, it's the emails that coming up. There's a notification, this person liked my post or what have you. Those things then distract me from what I know my tasks that I need to get, and then I don't get those things done. So I don't get to go to the store or whatever it might be. It could be anything. But I use those notifications and those reminders for my benefit versus distracting me away from the task that I have at hand. And I think today we have so many different distractions in so many areas. So I don't pay attention to the news. I try not to pay attention to a lot of things because it stops me from being on task with what I want to do, and it gets me focused on something else. And so if you have goals for yourself and you have certain things that you need to get done, we have to stay focused. It's just a simple thing. If you were constantly, 5 minutes on one thing, 5 minutes on another thing, it would be so much harder to get the job done. And I think that's what's ended up happening. One of the things that I think about with new technology and how we automatically assume that new technology is making us better, right? Like I said, hey, smartphone, we're getting smarter because of it. Not necessarily the case. I think a lot of people are using it for distraction and we're getting worse. It's creating more ADD. It's creating more of this scatterbrain mindset where we can't focus on something for a long period of time. And one of the instances was with this company called Slack. And if you don't know what they are, they're an inter-business messaging app. And it's a way for people who are working in the same company to be able to message back and forth. And it's just like, any sort of instant messenger, but they can get on and they can do different groups and they can, message group wide. They can have, one-on-one messaging. And I asked my friend when I first heard about this, and this was, years and years ago. And I asked him, because I was hearing him talk about, we're messaging on this new app. He's like, it's so great for business and blah, blah, blah. And I heard the conversations that he was having, and it's just him talking about, this guy was telling me about this. And I go, you've been telling me about you guys using this thing called Slack. And not one conversation has been about work. It's always been about sports. It's been about betting. It's been about, girls. It's like, I'm sitting there and I'm going, what better name for a app for inner group communication than Slack? What do we say about someone? You're slacking on your work when you're not paying attention to your work, right? Well, that's what these people were using. They're using it to slack off. So although it's this tool that you should be using for good, and I'm sure they do use it for good at times, but it creates this opportunity now for you to use it in a distracting way. And that's all I'm saying with the notifications on things or like the social media apps. If you're someone who's very disciplined and you can have a notification go off on your phone and you not pay attention to it, this isn't for you. This is for someone like me who if it goes off, I'm looking at it and I'm paying attention to it and I'm reading the email or I'm doing whatever and now I'm engrossed in that, where I was engrossed in something else that I originally had been planning on doing. Now this thing that on its time distracted me, whereas I want to be able to plan my day around the things that I know I need to get done versus whatever happens on a whim, all right? A post, all right, someone messages you, something happens that, an email, all those things end up distracting you away from the task that you have at hand. And I don't have the discipline. For whatever reason, I get distracted with those things. So I have to cut it off at the head. I have to get rid of all push notifications. Every app wants you to have push notifications for every stupid game that you play and all these things that you have on your phone. Get rid of those. Don't let that happen. It's just, even if it's just a little buzz, even if it's just a little beep, it's going to bring your attention away. If you're someone like me, if you're someone that can compartmentalize and you can stay focused and the buzzing and the beeping and the ringing and the whatever doesn't bother you, then that's fine. But for me, it does. I want every buzz on my phone to be important time sensitive. Like I said, a reminder, hey, you have to go to this client at 9:30. I was just reading a book, all right? I'm reading a book, and sometimes I get engrossed in the book. I want my phone to remind me, not me having to look at the time, or it's 5 minutes, or 3 minutes, 2 minutes. What? I'm not focused in on the book because I'm thinking about when I have to leave. Whereas if I just set my phone down, it's boom, I can just be focused completely on one task. And that to me allows my brain to be operating at 100% for that activity. If it's operating on two things simultaneously, I'm not at 100% on that one task. And that's what I think we as human beings need to be focused on, right? Focus on focus, right? What giving your all in things. When we half-ass things, when we're at work and we're slacking off because we're using an app called Slack so that we can talk to each other, we're not getting the job done. How much more productive could we be? How much less time could we spend at work if we were hyper-focused on those activities versus doing 50 things at once? We pick piece by piece, picked apart exactly what we did, and we gave full effort on those things. So that's what I've done with my phone. That's what I would suggest to anyone that has any sort of ADD tendencies that gets distracted easily. Your phone is probably, if you have it set up with the way that all the apps want, they want you to have these push notifications, you're probably being distracted through your phone. So, same thing with these smart watches. Like, it would drive me insane. Every little thing comes up. I see people, they're constantly looking at their watch, right? They're constantly doing this, all right, paying attention to things. And I'm like, hey, I'm talking to you. And they're like, oh, no, I'm listening. You are, but you're not listening 100%. Now, some people are, like I said, are better at that than others. But I think for most people, even someone that's good at it, it starts to chip away at you. And your level of attention, the ability that you have to focus starts getting smaller and smaller, right? Instead of you being able to do things for long periods of time and stay focused and stay energized on something, you have these distractions and it's just one thing to the next. I mean, what was the Vine app? 6-second videos. I mean, this is what our attention span has come to because of these things. Use your phone, if you wish, use your phone to help you, not hurt you, by getting rid of those notifications and then setting up the notifications to get the mundane tasks of your everyday life out of your brain so that you don't have to focus on those little things. You don't have to remember this or that. Let your phone be your second brain. That's what I call it. So my second brain that helps me remind me when I have little tasks and little things that I need to get done. It reminds me, whereas I can use my brain power for creativity, for energy, for effort, for whatever it is that I'm doing, so I can play full out. So those little reminders about getting eggs and getting chicken at the grocery store, I don't have to remember all that. It's on my phone and it reminds me, and then I go and do that task. So that's how we get the most out of our phone. That's how I get the most out of my phone. I don't have social media on as well because it just is a distraction for me. I know that although I don't want to be on it, if as soon as I go on it, I'm on there for freaking 45 minutes straight. And I'm like, what the heck happened, right? Talk about staying focused on something. It knows how to keep your focus because it goes from one thing to the next, and it knows exactly what you want because of the algorithm. It knows when you pause on something. So again, if you're like me, those things are very dangerous and they stop you from being focused on the tasks that you really want to get done. So if you want to be more productive, then maybe take a look at what notifications that you have on your phone, and then maybe use something like the Reminders app to be able to take away some of the mundane tasks and let your phone do that for you so that you can just go off and play 100% at whatever you're doing. So that's it for today, talking about phones, talking about distractions, and talking about how you can make your phone work for you versus against you.